we do currently we're in the middle of doing free therapy, and AKA short TED Talks.
Yeah. Yeah.
TED TikTok? TED TikToks?
You're overthinking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's gonna hurt you.
It's definitely not Ted Titties. It's not. It's. Ted,
I
it's
said
not,
TED TikTok. TED
oh,
TikTok.
I thought you said Ted.
No.
I thought you said Ted Tits.
No.
Never mind.
No.
Sorry.
Get your head out of Boobatox, okay?
I'm going to throw that at the very beginning of our show. Dead tits. And just open with that.
Welcome to Zeo to Hero, where we talk about Ted Tits
Yeah.
and Boobatox.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Billy.
And I'm Jimmy.
We are the Vulcan Skull of podcasting, and we want to welcome you to the numbskullery that is the Zeo to Hero podcast.
Where creators and fans come together to share their love of their fandoms.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, I'd like to welcome in on this very special episode of Zeo to Hero. The only two people that I know that can give us a run for the money. All the way from the Power Trip podcast, Nathan and Michael.
Hey, guys.
And, if you see our podcast in Apple Podcasts, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it's theirs is their next recommended. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I should quote that meme. I see you're a man of culture. There you go,
Yeah.
iTunes. You did something right, finally.
More like a man of wealth and taste.
Yeah, there you go. And apparently, I see we're starting a band, Squabbling Hobos. That sounds great. I should warn you, I can't play instruments, and my singing voice would make anyone's ears bleed.
Hey, well, the plot twist, it's all air band, so it's all right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Air band I can do. I did air band in college, so yes. Yes.
Yeah, Nathan is really good at playing the skin flute. I'll just say that.
Hey.
This coming from the guy who's only has two reasons for liking Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, and their names are Boobatox.
Boob one and boob two. Okay.
Yeah.
Scampy clothing too. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, come on. Yeah, that's right.
So Jason runs around with a skin tight shirt on and write out things to me I didn't think about.
So my name is Michael. I am one of the hosts of the Power Trip podcast, a journey through the Power Rangers franchise, along with my good friend Nathan Marchand here.
Yes.
And we are super stoked to be with you guys today. I don't know if we can quite give you a run for your money because I've heard your show and you guys are nuts. Let's just say that.
Speak for yourself, Michael. I came here with a 3-hour lecture prepared on the symbolism of astronomers' wigs.
If you think he's joking, he's not.
I completely
see a huge document on this.
You have to understand. I'm a recent master's student graduate, and I teach at university right now.
Sir, I need to see these Venn diagrams right now.
Do you have a solid?
Listen to our In Space episode, and it will all make sense.
I hope he has a really solid PowerPoint with like a laser pointer.
A PowerPoint?
Do you have transitions?
Yes. I drew it first.
Oh boy!
Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust.
Oh man! So I guess let me just ask y'all how did y'all get into this whole idea? Because I know that y'all have also different shows as well. Like, what inspired you to just get on and just preach it?
Well, I've been at this podcast game actually since about 2017. I started a kaiju and a very Godzilla-focused show some years ago. I now refer to that euphemistically as my previous podcast life because that ended very abruptly and very unhappily. And that's all I have to say on the matter. And then about a year later, in 2019, I launched another show while I was still in the middle of grad school because I'm insane.
Okay, yeah.
It's called the
Makes
Monster
sense.
Island Film Vault. So I got back into the podcast game. And for a couple of months there after I started it, I was, I had a few other podcast friends, but none of them were in the kind of the tokusatsu community. And I started, making some new friends over the next couple of months. And then Michael was actually a listener of mine in those early days, and then I'll have him explain the story in more
So
detail.
wait, Michael got pulled in as the free help, right?
No, actually,
not quite.
not quite. But I'll let him explain his part of the story there. But basically, at that point, he had become what was intended to be the temporary co-host on Kaiju Weekly, and they had an episode coming up that they wanted to have a guest on, and Michael said, "Hey, how about we have Nathan on?" And then we did, and then it was all downhill from there. So,
Nice.
But as for the power trip, that came about because Michael is one of the brains behind Kaiju Ramen Magazine, and he wanted to write a series of articles. And I'll explain why. I'll let him explain why he wanted to do this, but he wanted to write a series of articles going through each of the eras of Power Rangers. And because he had been bitten by the podcast bug, he decided, well, let's do a podcast as
I thought you were going to let me explain this.
Yes,
Yeah,
Michael, please
I'm not
explain.
giving all the
Please.
details,
Right,
but that's
fine.
the basic.
I feel like you're doing
genesis
broad
of it.
strokes right now.
I am doing so good at explaining my own show.
Yeah,
It's a great
It's
job.
fine. But no, I joke with Nate, but I started podcasting in 2019 as well. This was like December, November of 2019 or something like that. I had no interest in podcasting. So I started listening to several like just Godzilla kaiju focused podcasts because that's also a genre that I participate in. And I come across this show called Kaiju Weekly, hosted by myself and my good friend Travis. And I wrote into the show and was like, "Hey, I like it. Can you answer these questions?" And eventually Travis said, "If we keep answering these questions from this random guy in West Virginia, we're gonna have him on." And so eventually they had me on. Travis and I really hit it off, and so I became the permanent co-host of a show called Kaiju Weekly, where we celebrate the monster genre and all its silly, serious, and everything else in between forms. So Nathan already told you the part of his story where we did an episode of, I think it was like State of the
Fandom, yeah.
Yeah, State of the Fandom or something like that. Some hokey little idea that we came up with. And I had heard Nathan's show, the Monster Island Film Vault, as I was researching other podcasts about this about that genre to listen to. And I became very attached to his because his has a very it's not just analytical, it's not just a review show, but it's also an audio drama mixed in with that as well.
Yeah.
So I became enamored by his show and we invited him on. We had a conversation. We all hit it off. Now, here's the fun part that Nathan was trying to alluding to. My audio sounded like complete shit on that episode. And my audio sounds like complete trash. And I come up with this stupid idea of, or we come up with this idea of, I'm in quarantine. This is before actual quarantine, mind you. I'm in quarantine, and I'm
before the dark times, before the COVID.
I'm in this bubble on Monster Island because I took a wrong flight, and now I have to record from this podcast, or from this bubble, on a fictitious island somewhere full of monsters. And it just kind of spitballed from there, and there was like a lot of like creative ideas. I know I'm distilling it down because it's a long story, and
it is. It's a long story, but
there's a lot of story beats.
Yeah, just to give it a little bit more context, I started the Film Vault with just kind of this goofy idea because when I was in college, I interned at a radio station. So I thought, what can I do to make the show distinct? So I decided, how about I do it like it's a radio show? And then I thought, well, how about I say I'm actually on Monster Island, where all of the kaiju hang out in Godzilla films. And it was just meant to be just this setup so I can make some reference jokes here and there. But then I ended up giving myself a producer sidekick character who would interrupt me on the show. and it was a character from a little-known Toho movie, and then it just kept ballooning to the point where, as more people kept listening, they would actually create characters, and they would appear on the show. Michael has played several characters on the show, including my nemesis, or at least my most immediate nemesis.
Yes. A snooty little British man called WHG3. William H. George III, by the way. Georgie boy, if you're feeling nasty. Yeah,
but before at this point, but then the thing became, because the Kaiju Weekly was the first kaiju first kaiju podcast I guested on since I started the show. So I was trying, how do I handle guest star appearances? So I decided I'm not breaking the kayfabe. I'm going to go on, because I basically, when you hear me on the Film Vault, I'm playing a fictionalized version of myself. So I don't break the kayfabe most of the time when I go on other podcasts. So when I went on there, I'm like, yeah, I flew here from Monster Island and crazy things happened. And then he decided to play along with it, and so he was stuck on the island while I was here. And
for those listening to the audio version of this show, I'm doing scare quotes fictionalized version of it. So,
by fictionalized, I mean me cranked to 11, sometimes 12.
Pretty much.
Cranked down from 15 to 11, right?
But
for you guys, you get 22. I'm just
oh no,
this is your 22. Okay.
Yeah, so to fast forward, just to keep it concise, just to fast forward a little bit, I've been doing Kaiju Weekly for about 2 years with Travis, and then I decided, as I'm diving into the Ranger, back into the Ranger franchise, because I started rewatching all of Power Rangers back in May of 2020 during quarantine, and it started out as a whim. I'm like, I haven't seen Power Rangers in probably 20 years, 15 years.
You were on Netflix. Like, hey, it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Exactly.
Yeah, for the 5 minutes it was still on.
Yeah, right? Pretty much.
Netflix, why?
So the more I kept watching, the more enamored I became with it. And as a 35-year-old adult, I started picking up on some things that I didn't notice as a kid. So that kind of piqued my interest. And so I decided I wanted to write an article series for the magazine that I helped create called Kaiju Ramen, that kind of explores that franchise in more detail. And then the more I started to think about it, I was like, well, you know what? What if we did a podcast that acted as a companion piece to the article series that I'm going to be writing, just to expand on these series even more? And so after I reached out to a few friends, they all turned me down except for Nathan. So now I'm stuck with Nathan to do the show.
It is a privilege to podcast with me, sir. I'm very selective about who I collaborate with. You're on the short list.
But in all honesty, I know I bust his balls a lot, but honestly, Nate,
and I bust him right back.
Nate is probably one of the best co-hosts I've ever interacted with, because he can match the level of enthusiasm for this franchise just the same as me, because I love it. Like, I unabashedly love the Ranger.
Well, and here's the interesting thing is that I blame Michael for having me rediscover this, because I told myself a few years ago that we live in this golden age when everything Tokusatsu is getting released or re-released. Yeah. And I was just like, okay, everything is out there now. I'm going to have to pick one, because I love superheroes too. I grew up loving superheroes. So I'm like, okay, superheroes and kaiju and all this stuff is coming. And so I just told myself, okay, you need to pick one that you're going to dive into fully, because I know myself well enough to know that, like, when I start something and I like it, I will not stop.
You don't want to spread yourself too thin on it.
Yeah, so I said, okay, here's my choice. I'm going to pick Ultraman, and then I will dabble in the others, because I don't have enough time in my life, I feel like, to get into all of them. And then there was a point I was texting with Michael, and I was telling him that I wanted to add a character to the cast of the Film Vault that would be, because I have, at the time, it was supposed to be this just offhand remark. There is a board of directors that runs everything on the island, and they slowly evolved into these unseen nemeses for my MIFV Nate.
Real quick, do we need to get the spoiler warning territory or no?
No, don't worry about it. So So I said, okay, I need ideas for this. I'm thinking about doing a legacy character as the head of PR for the island, but I want it to be somebody who is kind of like, could be evil, but not really evil. And he said, how about Astronema? Oh, you mean the villain from Power Rangers in Space? Because I had hardly thought about anything Power Rangers in years. So I'm like, okay. So I looked up a picture of her. I'm like, oh, okay, that might work. Well, I guess I better watch the show if I'm going to write this character, because I don't really remember a whole lot. And I haven't come back. So, so I watched all of In Space. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to have to go watch what came before, aren't I? And then I heard about the Power Purge. And then I literally went through Alien Rangers through Turbo in less than a month.
Oh, man.
Wow,
All right.
wow. Yeah.
Because it was all going away. Because I'm like, Mighty Morphin stands, but I'll watch these for now. And yeah, so that became a bonding moment for Michael and I. So at this point, we're calling each other up and having these conversations. And so we've joked several times on the Power Trip.
You're dreaming about spandex and multicolors and chrome helmets.
Yeah. So we've joked several times on the podcast that the Power Trip is just us putting our private conversations to record.
And it pretty much is. It's pretty much what you hear on the Power Trip, except for just a little bit of strategic editing, because sometimes those very sometimes those very intimate thoughts just don't need to make it on air. Let's just say that. Especially
the stories he told me about his teenage fantasies about Kim. Oh, geez, that is not suitable for any ears.
Look,
that one time at band camp.
that one time at band camp, there was this girl. Her name was Kimberly, and all of my
a lot of Vaseline.
No, okay, but seriously, it's
let's just say he likes telling the story about how Amy Jo Johnson ushered him into manhood.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
Oh boy, okay, we're this is a family show, Nate. Come on,
be fair. I will throw this out there. The first time Billy showed up, not Billy over here, but David Yo showed up in a tank top, I discovered some things about myself real quick. It's like, all right.
And that's, you know what? That's fair. That's totally fair.
Because Billy Cranston is the buffest nerd ever.
Oh my God. Like, I was like, glasses.
Which is funny because, as you guys probably know, if you listen to our intro episode, one of the early drafts, shall we say, of Power Rangers would have used a different Sentai, would have used Bioman, and Billy Cranston was supposed to be some Jim Hound heartthrob.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't they reuse some of the ideas from for like the Evil Ranger for like season 1 or something like that, where Billy and Kimberly were evil?
Oh,
from that one? I don't know. I just derailed the whole conversation. It's fine.
Are you talking? Well, are you talking about when? What is that episode? But when Billy and Kim come to high school dressed in this punk getup, is that what you're talking about?
That's the one.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I would have to go do a little bit of research on that. I know that if anyone's ever watched the unaired pilot of Power Rangers,
which was our backdoor pilot on Henshin Men, one of my other podcasts.
Yeah. So if anyone's ever watched the backdoor pilot to Power Rangers, it's on YouTube. You can go watch it. It was a part of like the 20th anniversary or 15th anniversary special or something like that, and you can kind of see where they were making some adjustments based on some old footage of like Bioman and things that they were going to do prior to settling with Zyuranger. So it's just a really interesting history behind where they started, like that halfway point of they were almost there, and then where we finally ended up. It's just a really interesting story.
I remember. Do you remember the Micro Machines?
Yes. Yes.
So the Jason Micro Machine figure had the shirt from the unaired pilot, the white shirt with the red lines on it. They never put him in a real red shirt. It was always that shirt. I don't know why. Like, I always remember that going, why do they use that shirt?
Oh man.
Yeah.
They always
when-
wear red shirts.
Yeah, when we covered that on Henshin Men, I said this is what happens when you film the first draft.
Yeah.
Except we found out it's actually the second. So because they got as far, I think they apparently filmed a pilot for Bioman, but the
Yeah.
only part of it you can find anywhere is what's basically the opening credits sequence.
That's
and
about it, yeah.
is
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've seen that. And every time I saw when I saw it, I was like, that's okay.
Well, here's a question that I heard, and it bugs me, and I'm gonna see if it bugs y'all. But
Sure, go
to
ahead.
live in Angel Grove or to own or operate a business of any sort in Angel Grove, what would be the insurance rates? To
Oh, they would offer kaiju insurance
Yes.
just like in Japan.
Like,
Yeah,
I feel
it's-
like
oh,
at
yeah.
that point it would become a
Yeah.
tax scheme.
yeah,
They're like, hey, I have this insurance, you pay up, and then
Yeah.
the insurance companies will get money from the government, and it just got out of hand real quick.
Well, it would probably turn into something more like in Pacific Rim, where you have like kaiju scalpers and kaiju extortionists.
oh, that's
so,
right.
So something like that.
I
would
just want to
probably happen.
see, first off, who would be crazy enough to move to Angel Grove? I'm just saying, but can you imagine someone buying a house in Angel Grove? Some young couple just got married, bought their first house, moved to Angel Grove because one of them got a great job, and he's sitting there, and they're finalizing the deal on the house, and they say like, "Hey, what's this? What power insurance? What's this? Is this a brand?" They're like, "No, that's for in case the Power Rangers show up and accidentally wreck your house." Oh, does that happen a lot? You don't pay attention to the news, do you?
I feel like with the current economics of house buying, it would be a great deal. It's like, how much is the house? Sold. Done. You
Yeah.
care? No, I don't care.
You know,
It's-
the real estate market in Angel Grove is not that great.
Nah.
You know, one thing.
You want to be a
They
homeowner.
They pay people to live in the houses. It's
like
like
Alaska.
Detroit, but 10 times worse. You know.
One thing that's really always funny about the franchise is it after everything that this town and the Rangers have been through, you always have that one person in Angel Grove, and sometimes it's Ernie, says, "Oh, there's no way that a monster, there's no way it could be aliens." Like, really, guys?
Did you forget what universe you're in?
Yeah.
Were
Like,
you not outside like 10 minutes ago when there was another monster that attacked?
Yeah.
And
and
we
it's
had
like,
giant mechas outside fighting each other. What happened with that? Do you think we made this? We can barely do tanks right. How do you think we're going to do a Mechazord? Like, how are we going to do this?
what brought that up was when we were talking about Zeo, and we were talking about the serials that were leading up to the debut of Zeo.
Oh,
And
yeah.
And one of the serials was actually it was Bulk and Skull. They were coming to Ernie like, "We saw an alien," and Ernie looks at them deadpan. It's like, "You're crazy. There's no such thing as aliens. I'll believe in aliens when the governor comes on and tells me something's wrong." And then like a second later, "Newsflash coming in from our governor: we have aliens that are attacking Earth." Come on, guys! Like, do you realize? Like Jim said, do you realize what universe you're in? Really?
I
You're
feel
taking my
like
rant. How do you think spandex can protect people like that? It's not going to happen.
I feel like an alien invasion destroying buildings with giant robots would be covered by every news media source, even InfoWars and Alex Jones. You know, I feel like it'd be on there.
I'm telling you, there's aliens out there in Angel Grove, and one of them is led by a space witch, and then we got the gold armored flying monkey guy. Yeah,
And there's monkeys.
it's crazy,
There-
man.
there-
And
there
then
is,
there's something
yeah.
about the
but-
frogs in Angel Grove too.
Yeah.
If you see
but-
some of the monsters that come out and
Protect yourself.
fight there,
You got to buy my Mangrow.
Yeah, you gotta-
Mangrow
yeah, buy
pills.
supplements.
Mangrow pills.
Oh
Protect
god!
yourself.
You know,
And we have just entered into the level of Alex Jones.
Yes.
I would like to see. I would love, honestly, I would, and this is crazy talk, but I would love to see like an Alex Jones type character canonized in the Ranger franchise somewhere. They could do
Do
it in the
not.
comics.
oh,
Give
why not?
people
Why not?
ideas.
Why not? Dino Fury has BuzzFeed.
Buzz Blast. No, it's
Yeah,
Buzz
Buzz
Blast.
Blast.
Buzz
Yeah,
Blast.
Blast.
Yeah.
Why not? Just throw in Alex Jones. Throw in an Alex Jones proxy while you're at it. Who doesn't believe? Who wants who's just like all of his so-called conspiracy theories are just him recapping old episodes of Power Rangers.
I'm so down for that.
So did you hear about what happened at the high school where they had in Angel Grove? They're having a party, and suddenly a giant pig head in a Roman Centurion helmet just came in and ate everything. Tell you.
What happened with this wave of light? Why are there more monsters now? I thought they were supposed to be gone. What happened? I don't believe it. We never went to the moon.
The government is hiding something from us, damn it!
Air adventure, I call bull.
Remember that moon mission a few years ago when those guys came back and they were absolutely terrified? They couldn't tell us anything. I know that those are the idiots that let out the space witch. And I'm telling you right now, they need to be put away for years. Right now. We would not be having any of these problems if they did not pull the lid off of that dumpster.
The statue is leaking fluid. Just
Why is American astronauts Japanese?
Why don't their lips match the words?
Why do they move their hands when they're fucking? Why?
And then there was that really weird one. I heard this story from a guy who saw this. Eyewitness. I'm telling you right now. So the Rangers go and they meet these weird psycho-looking guys. And then one of them gets kicked into a warehouse and mysteriously disappeared. I'm telling you, another dimension. Yeah. Kicked so hard, going to another dimension. Everything looked a little bit more washed out. I don't know why.
I'm a little worried that your Alex Jones impersonation is very good.
I'm a little bit worried myself. It's like,
yeah, that's
like this could be an actual thing. We swear,
I don't watch all that much Alex Jones, and what Alex Jones I
all
do
that
see
much
is just him. And what Alex Jones I do here is him guesting on other shows. So,
oh
my
God.
We're not condoning that you should start this show, but if this becomes part of your series,
we're gonna keep Alex Jones so far away from our show.
Yeah.
It's gonna be ridiculous.
The sad part is Alex Jones's warehouse is like probably 30 minutes from me.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Now this begs the question. Is that where he's hiding the Ark of the Covenant now? I have to know.
Well, legend says, probably is.
Because apparently the Ark of the Covenant is the original Z-Wave, but it only works on Nazis. So,
as it should.
Diverting from this.
Yes.
This went off the rails real quick. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
To our handful of listeners who thoroughly enjoy our off the railness, don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have friends who run a podcast called Derailed Trains of Thought. I'm used to this.
Oh.
To be fair, a couple episodes before this one, we went into dancer belts. From dancer belts, we ended up on brownies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to look at the transcription of that
I want
episode.
to know where that connection came from, but I'm sure we don't have time.
Don't worry, just listen to the Master Force episode from Zero to Hero. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, all right,
if you want to watch the Behind the Mics on Mondays.
Yeah.
Okay.
On our YouTube channel. Yeah.
Oh,
shameless plugging. Yep,
look.
That is one of my spiritual gifts, sir.
It's true. It is true. But just to bring it back to what we actually were talking about before we got on the topic of Alex Jones.
Yeah.
We're 30 minutes into this. And you've only covered like the intro to your show.
Right. Exactly. So long story short, I don't even know what I've said at this point. Long story short, the Power Trip started as just a way for me to love on the franchise that I grew up with and wanted to celebrate through a podcast. And I drug Nathan here on the ride. So it's been a lot of fun so far. We just recorded our Turbo and In Space episode. So those should be coming out very soon. Our next episode out at the time of this recording is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, which is a classic in and of itself.
Adam's a frog. I totally get it, man.
Yeah.
We actually didn't talk about that
Yeah.
part all that
We
much,
spent a lot
weirdly
of-
enough. Yeah, we talked about some other things like the goddess that is
The
Dulcia.
Ivan Ooze quotes got me. Like as a kid, I didn't get it. I was like, oh.
Where's my
I was like, that's kind of funny.
autograph
Ha,
book?
ha, ha. I went back and rewatched it, and like all his quotes are amazing.
I just want to hear all of the
I
unused
would
takes
love
that
that.
they used before Aisha did the crotch
Oh,
kick
yeah.
of doom.
Yeah.
Because I've heard they were not PG, and I'm curious.
Behind the scenes, Power Rangers, the original movie.
Yeah, Power Rangers After Dark.
Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go, yeah,
Power Rangers After Dark. That's where they're gonna debut that. But no, we spent a lot of time talking about Ivan Ooze and just that whole thing. Like I was reading the visual arts book a couple weeks ago, and in the section where it talks about the movie, they said that they had like a little bit of a script for Ivan for
Yeah.
Ooze, but they essentially just left the actor to do what he wanted to do and ad lib exactly how he wanted to, and that's what we're presented with. We get like the whole line of with the Brady Bunch reunion.
I love
That was
line.
that was totally ad libbed.
The
Like
Black
that was him
Plague,
making it stuff.
The Brady Bunch reunion.
Well, this is news to me.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
So
That's
you
cool.
know, the guy who played Ivan is the priest from Hot Fuzz.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
He's all.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
He's also
I need
one
to
of
watch
the. If
Hot
I'm not
Fuzz
mistaken, he's
again.
also one of the Nazis in Raiders. Correct.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Very,
Wow.
very
Oh.
well talented actor.
Oh, he is.
Oh.
Yeah, he has a really good pedigree as far as like being an actual actor.
Okay, it's like when you see that movie, it's like you have that thought of the same thought you had when you watched Good Burger. Dave Lagoda, how the hell do you get in this? How did they get you for this? Why are you here?
Oh, I was gonna say it's always fun to like watch a show and actually see other characters that played in the Power Rangers movies or the TV series and other shows too. It's always fun to see that because you get to see the wide variety of how they act too.
Well, Bryan Cranston voiced several
Oh yeah.
early
Oh, yeah.
villains in the
Yeah,
original
Eye
series.
Guy, and I know for sure.
Snizzard. He was the voice of
few of 'em.
Snizzard.
Yeah, and then he ended up playing Zordon in your favorite movie. So
You're not
did
going
you,
there.
Did you watch Breaking Bad?
I did. Yes.
The entire first season of Breaking Bad, did you think he was just going to do something really funny the entire time? Were you just waiting for it?
I was.
I was waiting for it.
I
I was like,
was.
come on, where's he going to do something funny? It's Malcolm's dad. Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like the whole like
Funny.
I got on the Breaking Bad train late. Like I did not see Breaking Bad until it hit Netflix. And
You were really late on that one. Yeah.
yeah, I was really late on it. And I was like, me and my ex-wife were just kind of looking for something to watch. And we decided to watch Breaking Bad. And I ended up loving it. I love serialized shows like that.
Wow.
Like, you know, Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, The Sopranos, just stuff like I love stuff like those slow burn television shows.
Yeah.
Which is why we appreciate certain things like, you know, In Space, where it is a little bit more serialized.
it's
And
very
everything-
serialized.
And it all links together in some way. There's like there is a through line throughout that entire season. Whereas in the past seasons, it's like you might get a handful of multi-parters, but the rest is just not quite all linked together all that well.
That's actually why I've been liking the comics a lot too, is the
Absolutely,
fact that comics will fill in those gaps really
Mhm.
well. Like they still have the monster of the week kind of thing, but it fills in the gaps. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Keep bringing this to me. I want more of this. And it fills up the lore. And then, the comics, Boom Comics are nailing this.
I would say, like, because there's this talk now of a new Ranger film coming out in 2023 or 2024. So I'm curious if they will just take what Boom Comics has been doing and adapt it to the big screen, or maybe even do it through their television show. Whatever that television show is going to look like next year or the year after. I know the rumor is, this has not been confirmed, that the relationship between Hasbro and Toei is going to be done this year. So there won't be any Sentai footage used at all, which kind of lends credence to the fact that Toei is doing some really ridiculous things. With
Oh my
Super
gosh,
Sentai.
yes.
That new series thing that
Yeah,
they're doing.
Dawn Brothers.
Dawn Brothers. Yeah, thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, is that the one with like the 3 animated like rangers
Yes.
and then?
Yes. Well, I think it's
I'm
I
not
think it's
mad.
just 2.
Yeah.
I think it's just 2. I think there's the fox or the dog or something. I think
The
it's
Black
a fox.
Ranger, the Blue Ranger, and the Yellow Ranger. No, the Pink Ranger are all animated.
Well, the Blue
Yellow
Ranger's
and
a
red-
suit, a wearable suit.
Yeah,
Oh,
the Blue
okay.
Ranger is a wearable suit because it looks kind of like a baboon.
Yeah.
It looks like kind of like a monkey. And if you look, and what's funny is, I was telling this to Nathan, if you look at the photos of those suits on the back of the blue one, his butt is red.
Yeah.
Kinda
It
like
is.
It's got baboon butt. Yeah.
Yeah.
What killed it for me was the fact that Red Ranger has a man bun, and my hair's long enough to where I wear a man bun a lot, and
Okay.
I'm like, all right.
You do
No.
you, man.
Like,
Like,
that doesn't sit well with me. I don't care. Like I was like, no.
Hey,
I'm
hey,
good.
I've seen enough Power Rangers to know that there have been some ridiculous haircuts that have somehow fit into those helmets. I'm just saying.
What? Like the helmet has a man bun on it, and I'm like,
Oh, never
Oh,
mind.
yeah. Yeah.
Put it- yeah, but-
So that's just weird. So they built in a man bun hole for.
no, an actual
No, no,
man
no,
bun.
no, it's
Like,
an actual-
it's a
no.
solid man bun.
yes, the helmet
Piece of,
has
like,
an
helmet.
actual piece that looks like a man.
What
bun
was
on top of
what
it.
was that Toei show made a few years ago that was basically a parody of Super Sentai, but it wasn't a Super Sentai, and they did that.
Abby Ranger, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. But then they were weird and actually had those characters show up in a Super Sentai crossover movie. So I guess they're canon now. Good Lord, Toei, what are you doing? And that was they had like ridiculous. They had helmets with ridiculous anime hair. So it's,
Oh, I
The
know.
Red
what you're
Ranger
talking-
was emo, like not emo, but he looked emo. The Yellow Ranger was like super mean, and then the Blue Ranger, I think it was a crossdresser who became a girl in the suit, something like that.
Okay.
I think it was super weird and progressive for Japan.
Right, exactly. Which I am totally in the camp of thinking that Toei is just doing things with the mindset of there is no way those Americans are going to be able to adapt this. This is our thing now. So you've had your time for the
Like-
last 30 years.
which
You
is
had your time
funny
last-
because I
like-
thought
Yeah.
they liked Power Ranger money, but okay.
I mean,
They like
but-
Saban money.
they like Saban money, but here's the thing: Hasbro will probably wind up doing its own, its
Yeah,
own Power
probably.
Ranger thing, most likely, because one, it would probably be more they have the money to spend on production,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
two,
Oh my God.
it's probably more cost effective for them in the long run because they
Yeah.
don't have to pay those royalties.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
they
they
don't
got to pay a lot. And
Yeah.
I feel like at some point, I understand that when Power Rangers launched, Saban using the footage was one, so he could adapt it, and two, was done for practical reasons so they could save some money.
They can save a
But
lot
I
of
feel
money on
like
the
at
filming.
I feel like at some point in the production of all of these shows in the history of the franchise, it just got to the point where it's like, we're just doing it because it's tradition.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
not
well,
for,
look at
for no
look
other
at,
reason.
Disney. Disney got their hands on it, and they just kept doing it. And they have money to throw around. It's Disney. They bought Star Wars with couch money. That's that they did. They went to George
Yeah.
Lucas. Is like, just tell us when to stop writing zeros. That's how they bought Star Wars, and they kept doing it with that. And so they moved the production to New Zealand and still kept using the Super Sentai footage. But I think it was tradition at that point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. They also moved Power Rangers filming from New Zealand to Canada for,
For
this
Dino-
next
for
series.
Dino
for-
Fury?
For Dino Fury,
Oh,
is
After
that-
Dino
okay.
Fury. The last adaptation is going to
Okay.
Give
be
me
filmed in Canada.
Like I think I saw the thing that was supposed to be the gems or something like that, the rocks or something like that.
Oh,
I
was
guess.
that?
I'm not too
um,
sure.
Oh, what is that one called?
I wanted the trains.
oh God.
I thought
They
the train
can't.
concept was
They
cool.
can't. They can't.
Yeah.
You know what? They need to
They-
readapt
what's
Go
the one
Tiger.
they
That's what
wanted-
they should do. Readapt that.
Which one? Which one is it? Is the one with cops and robbers?
That's
one?
Lupin Ranger or something like that.
Lupin,
They can't
it's-
do that one.
Yeah, Lupin Ranger.
It's Lupin
can't-
Ranger versus something.
Like the
I can't-
police rangers. That's
Yeah.
Lupin versus the police. I can't remember what the police is
Basically.
called.
Yeah.
But yeah, they can't use that here because then it depicts rangers as bad guys, and so
Yeah.
they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's what Saban said, and I'm pretty sure Hasbro's sticking with that.
Mhm.
Pretty sure.
What's the one with the galaxy? Like they're called Q
that
Ranger.
one, the one like the cast of like
They
25.
want to try to adapt that. Yeah, and the fans are like wanting them to do it, but thing is like with how we do the episodes here, like we only have what
Something
44
like that,
Yeah,
episodes or so.
with Nickelodeon. Yeah, Nickelodeon. They're supposed to going with. They're supposed to leaving Nickelodeon and going to Netflix, right?
Yeah, they're going to be
They're
totally.
already transitioning there.
Yeah, they're a
With that, the
totally
Netflix
Netflix
is a
exclusive thing now.
Netflix don't care. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
you want to do 8 1-hour-long movies? All right, cool. Look at
Sure,
The Witcher.
that's fine.
Look at the
Yeah.
money they threw at The Witcher.
Sure.
Look at that.
Oh,
It's like-
the money that they threw at The Witcher is ridiculous. I was
Yeah.
watching season 2 the other day, and it is drastically a step up from season 1. And what I really, and this is sort of this is a rabbit trail, but what I really have enjoyed about The Witcher is a lot of the use of practical effects as well as the CGI. Like I
Yeah,
can
at this
appreciate that.
point, Netflix
Oh.
is just desperate to get themselves some sort of a franchise that they can
They can stick
just
to.
they can stick to and milk it, because they've been trying
Well,
and they have been
Look what they do with Stranger
failing.
Things.
Yeah, so look
Stranger
at when
Things
they've
is
tried to
pretty much-
adapt to anime. Oh, that went over well. Yep,
Oh yeah.
totally
Yeah.
went well. So they are
Well,
desperate to find their
yeah.
MCU at this
Yeah.
point. And I think that they're
So-
hoping that
so the
Power
PR
Rangers is going to
Well,
be
they got
that for them.
that one guy. They got that one dude who directed that one. Oh dang it! It's that one series. I'm Not Okay. That one. I don't think. you
Oh,
have it, but- like I'm not okay with the girl with the superpowers. And, like she's not okay, and like it was really good. It was really good. And he's like, well, I wanted to build this whole series around it, and like all the other stuff. And it was really well done for one season.
Mhm.
And Hasbro was like, I think it's Hasbro or Netflix was like, do you want to head up the Power Rangers multiverse? And he's like, yes.
Oh,
So-
what is his name? Oh,
I don't remember.
Entwistle. Entwistle.
That's who it is, yeah. And he's
Yeah.
like that show he did, I'm Not Okay, was fantastic. Like it was awkward and like super powered and really well story driven with like all these little feelers for other stuff that could totally play off. But the whole season, once it ended, like you felt like it was complete. You're like, oh, this is good, but there's so much more that could be done.
Right.
But it doesn't need to. Oh, it was great. I recommend it. Watch it. It's good.
Okay. Well, I
Hand movements.
well, we do a lot of hand movements on. Like you don't see it most of the time, but I do a ton of
Yeah.
hand. Anyway,
Let me tell you, I talk like an Italian, but I have no Italian in me. I don't know how that happened.
Let's bring you together with the Sams. It's okay. The Sams. Oh
well,
my-
that actually leads into a really good question. I'll ask you two, because I think this is something Nathan and I have talked. Nathan and I have talked about this before.
At
but
length?
at length, at pretty long length.
3 hours on astronomers' wigs. I'm just saying.
But like, how do you guys feel about an adaptation of Power Rangers that leans a little bit more into a more mature area? Like, should they keep it
I'm all
like
for it.
should they keep it like super kid friendly, or should they have a separate franchise for just adults, or try to merge the
Yeah.
two?
I would love to have an animated version for like the kids, and then have like the Netflix version
Mhm.
for the more mature.
Here's the
And
thing.
then that'd be pretty
Okay,
cool because
here's
it'd
the
be a
thing. I'm
lot.
not opposed to taking the franchise in that direction, although I'm sure you guys are familiar with Power Rangers Unauthorized, that little fan film that got released like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
really fun.
where
Yeah.
apparently it
Yeah.
was meant to be satire and nobody realized it was satire.
That doesn't
Yeah.
seem like satire to me.
It was fun. I liked it, but
Yeah, but
whatever.
anyway, I'm sure some people would say that's the direction they need to go. Here's the
No.
thing, but here's the thing I'm looking at though. I'm looking at, especially if it's Netflix doing this, I'm looking at what they tried to do with Cowboy Bebop,
Yeah.
where it just felt like when they say
yeah, that was-
mature, they mean written by 12-year-old boys who just hit puberty and discovered swearing.
Yeah.
That's what and I'm like, that's not what I want. Okay. Now what I would
No.
like to see is something like the Power Rangers audio drama that Carl Dutton has been doing for the last, how long is it now, Mike? At least 2 years now, I
It's
think.
been at least about 2 years. Yeah, they're on season. They're getting ready to wrap up season 3, I think.
2.
2. Okay.
Did y'all read Aftershock?
I haven't read Power Rangers Aftershock. Is that right? Or
Yeah, Power Rangers
Okay.
Aftershock.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
how about this? Instead of that, let me rephrase it. Have you read Radiant Black?
No.
Okay. So how Radiant Black does it, I kind of want to see a show like that, where it's more adult oriented, but it's not like drugs, alcohol, and sex. It's
Sure.
not just that. It's not overly done. It's more the dude's down on his luck because he can't get a job in LA and he's an Uber driver and he's freaking broke, so he has to move back in with his parents
Sure.
in a different state. So he has to leave, give up all his hopes and dreams, go back, and then he gets powers through the Radiant Black series, and it goes from there. And every the first guy he meets who has powers similar to his is robbing banks.
Mhm.
That's what his thing is. He's like, oh, I'm robbing banks. No one can stop me. It's fine.
Remind me,
Something
who
like
wrote
that.
this? Who
The
wrote
same
this?
dude who did Shattered Grid. The guy who was running Shattered Grid.
Ryan
Yeah.
Parrott.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude. He's one writing it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I would like to see a Power Ranger series more like that, where it's
Okay.
a little bit more adult oriented, a little bit grittier, a little bit dirtier, but not over the top. Makes any sense?
I know it makes perfect sense because I think that there are ways that you could adapt even Shattered Grid into a likable, more mature more adult, mature oriented.
I just need competent writers. To be fair with you.
Yeah. You could definitely adapt that, and to Jim's point, there is a difference between mature and
Yeah.
adult and just being whatever and all that stuff. Like I'm with you. I don't want just a bunch of immature people that just want to throw.
You and I have
Let's have
talked
blood everywhere. No, man.
Yeah. Because you and I have talked about this, Michael. I mean, we've talked about that in private about a couple of Power Ranger seasons, but we actually got into it when we talked about In Space, and we said that In Space is remarkably grown up compared to what came before. And we like using the term grown up, not mature, not adult, because saying it like that in that context carries baggage and connotations that we're not trying to get at. But when you say grown up, that's what we're getting at. And for a few years after that, after In Space, I feel like Saban was actually aiming the show a little bit more in that direction, because you'll notice
Galaxy, Time Force, Lightspeed Rescue were a little bit more matured up.
Because you'll notice
they weren't high school anymore.
They were young adults. Yeah, like you get to Lightspeed Rescue, and we're not dealing. I mean, you see it a little bit in Lost Galaxy, where we have basically like 18-year-olds who just enlisted in the military or whatever, and then you get to Lightspeed Rescue, and it's full-fledged, for the most part, like young adult 20-somethings who are working real jobs. Okay, they're not in high school anymore.
Now, the question with the adaptation that you're talking about, you know how every season has like a comic relief kind of people. Now, the only suggestion I would have for that, if you put a comic relief into the Netflix series, I just suggest that you put Ricky, Julian, and Bubbles off of Trailer Park Boys. That's who I want in there.
Terrible.
Oh boy. Well, but one thing that they definitely need to make sure they do is don't make the villains jokes, because if you undermine your villains, you undermine everything.
Before I get really into this one, Radiant Black is done by Kyle Higgins.
That's what I knew. I was thinking it was Kyle Higgins.
Okay. Sorry, I had to throw a correction in there because I've been wrong about that before, because he's really good at it.
You know, it's because it's easy. Well, it's easy to get. It's easy to get the two confused because they've both written so much great material.
Fantastic. Okay, but the villains, I do kind of like how they're doing the villains in not Zed, but in Dino Fury. Zed was I'm gonna see how that plays out before I comment on that, but I do kind of like how the villains are being handled in Dino Fury, where they're kind of competent, kind of funny, not over the top, because the whole series is not over the top. Right. So it's fun. The puns are great.
You just have to acknowledge the fact that Void Knight is Mr. Freeze. So
that's it. And then Slither has the best puns. Oh my god, the best puns. Just
if you want
puns,
you got to listen to our show. You should have heard all of the pun jokes that we were making in the Zeo episode when we were talking about the finale.
Now, the question I have is, what happened to Zed? Like, he brings him back, he loses the control collar, and then he just disappears. Like, where did he go?
He just goes and does
Well,
his own thing for a
I
little bit.
guarantee you he'll come back.
Yeah, he's gonna probably be season 2's big bad. Watch.
Oh,
Well, if you notice, because he says this, Zed does say this. He's like, this would be a different. I'm paraphrasing. This would be a different story if I had my staff. So I'm assuming he's off somewhere. He's off somewhere in the ether looking for his staff.
Yeah, because I don't. Well, his staff was. Was his staff destroyed with a Z wave? Was it?
Technically, it would have been, but they brought it back. Remember in Beast Morphers because
There
it was
you go.
part of
Yeah,
the,
there. Okay.
Yeah.
Because at this point in time, this is pre Rita Zed. So before that, where he was menacing and evil.
Mhm.
Before they softened him up for TV because
Yeah.
parents called in complaining about how scary he was.
Yes, because even Lord Zed must bow the knee to the moms
To the
groups.
carrot.
Even he cannot defeat the moms.
Nope. But yeah, no. So I want to see what I think he's going to come back in season 2's big bad or the bigger bad in season 2, something like that. But I want to see what happens the rest of Void Knight's story. I want to know what happened. I want to know what happened. I want to know. I'm curious. I'm legitimately curious.
I'm legitimately curious too, because after the when we saw the revelation that he is actually trying to revive his dead wife. Spoiler, sorry for anyone who's not watched it. Void Knight has a dead wife trapped in a cryogenic chamber, but anyway.
Well, you said Mr. Freeze, so
Yeah,
that's the same story.
Yeah, but still, yeah, people for the uninitiated, we'll say that. When I saw that, I was like, oh,
he's
so
a bad guy, but he's not
Yeah,
bad
well,
guy.
and the
he's
funny
not,
thing,
he's not a totally bad guy.
Well, the funny thing is I kind of figured this would happen because you told me that you heard on another podcast that that's what his Sentai counterpart is doing.
Well, I know I said that his Sentai counterpart I had heard on another podcast because I have not seen Rio Soldier. I will say this: I have not seen Rio Soldier, but from what I have heard, his counterpart does have a wife who turns out to be an even bigger threat than he is.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. I did watch like 2 episodes of Rio Soldier, and like the first episode, like 3 people die. Like the 2 mentors die like that. I was like, oh, that's dark.
Well, there is also a Void Knight with gold armor or like a brownish bronze. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to off the Super Sentai. So maybe he becomes that. Like maybe he changes color, or
maybe.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that they've done something like that, or maybe they'll just make him a new character. They've done that too.
Like how the Night Ranger or the Battleizer Night Ranger for Dino Thunder was supposed to be a different character.
Yeah.
Oh, that was yeah.
Oh, man, Michael, we didn't talk about the ridiculous Battleizer in space that looks like a giant action figure.
Honestly, I'm totally cool with that because like what we talked about in space was more substantive than that.
I know, but I would have had to have made fun of it just once
in the chamber for this.
Yeah.
Well, it's because a lot of the later seasons, and not that the early seasons didn't do this as well, but a lot of the later seasons, it becomes extremely obvious that everything is meant to sell toys. Like that is the key thing. That is the thing. Like everything, it is meant to sell toys. The Battleizers,
the Forever Red episode,
the cars in the ancillary cars, Red Lightning and Blue
Lightning Cruiser
and Storm Blaster.
Yes.
They are totally meant to sell toys. I mean, we get it. So do I. My all those toys of mine are at my parents' house, a couple hours away. But I'll get them eventually. But I do have them all. Just all the ridiculous weapons and battleizers and things. All that stuff was just meant to sell toys, and it become increasingly obvious. And it is so obvious in Dino Fury how toyetic that series has become.
And which is a Toei thing. They fully embraced the toyeticness, whereas their competition over at Subaraya Productions resisted that for a long time, and now it's a little bit of a joke that they have quote unquote Bandai mandates.
Well, Subaraya is the same way, but Toei, I feel like, does it 10 times more over than what Super I.
Oh yeah.
So my side running theory is the fact that Hasbro wants to get away from Toei and everything because then they can make their own toys.
Mhm.
That would be they use other molds they already have. Like they've been making toys for years.
Mhm.
Oh,
For
yeah.
years. And I'm pretty sure they're like, we're tired of doing these toys. We want to do better toys. Or we want to do toys that we can make more money off of than these. Because look at Lightning Collection. Look at that.
The Zord Ascension project that's
Oh,
coming out,
yeah,
because
Yeah.
now the Zord Ascension
Oh.
project will not be tied to like Bandai and those legacy molds, because that's all Bandai was doing was
Yeah.
was reusing all those legacy molds. I think like when you get into like the Bandai legacy stuff, those were brand new molds, but up until that point, like the DX things and like all the DX Zords and things, those are just old Bandai molds.
Yeah.
So now and this is one thing, when I heard that Hasbro was buying the series, this is one thing I thought of was, okay, so they're a toy company, they're buying Power Rangers. Okay, so we're going to get a crap ton of Power Ranger toys over the next however many long years it's going to be. And then like maybe 6 months later, the Lightning Collection shows up on shelves. So
Yeah,
makes total sense.
Just a running theory I've had for a while because Hasbro bought it, and like I know they can do toys. I know that's what they did. That's why they did the Transformers movies, is to make more toys.
Right.
And you look how well the Transformers Siege toys are selling. Like
Mhm.
the cast iron ones, like the actual iron casted original series toys are flipping going off the shelf like that, man.
Well, look how fast the reissues of the Beast Wars stuff is going off the shelf.
Oh,
my God,
yeah.
that's gone.
Yeah.
Look at Star Wars Black. Oh my goodness! Like
Yeah, I've noticed that in particular, I don't know if there's a technical term for it, but things like the Lightning Collection, there's now, because that, which was modeled after, what is it, Marvel Legends or something, that style of action figure where it's very detailed, but very affordable. You know, with a lot of customizable, with a lot of points of articulation, a lot
Affordable
of
for
customizable
now.
pieces. Yeah, for now. Everything's getting more expensive, but
Yeah.
but that style of toy you're starting to see in a lot of things, because that model of action figure is very applicable to a lot of different things.
So the funny, but that started with Spawn. Actually, Spawn started that with their production company started doing that, where they did these super high quality toys for a little bit under like the super high quality toy like sell price, but they still weren't selling super well.
Mhm.
And then, but people wanted them. They really, really wanted them. And then you got the Marvel. This was
You're talking about McFarlane, right? That's the company.
yeah. McFarlane Productions or whatever, like did the toys, and they were doing really well. But people, the demographic for Power Rangers is us, basically, for these toys. It's us.
Yeah.
And so now we're hitting the age group where we're going to start buying these toys.
Mhm.
And so they're like, we want to make better toys for this age group. Who else did this? Oh, hey, we're doing this with Marvel. Spawn did this. It sold really well. We can do this with Power Rangers. We're doing it right now with Transformers. We can make better toys for this demographic of older people with a little bit more disposable income. And I say that with a huge grain of salt because, you know, we don't actually have disposable income. Like disposable income. Yeah, sure. Yep. I totally have that. Yep.
Yeah.
Disposable income. I mean,
exactly. The helmets, the Lightning Collection, the morphers.
He
NFT
FaceTimed
toys.
me wearing that thing just to show
Good
it
work,
off.
Michael.
Hey, you think that's bad? Hold on. Look at that.
I mean,
that's
like
bad.
seriously, this thing is gorgeous. This thing is gorgeous, and to what Jim was talking about, you know, the demographic that these things are focused on is us. Like, we're 30-something-year-old.
You're not gonna buy that for your kid. You're not doing that. You're
right.
not.
It's like
Yeah.
I just got in today my my 3-0
Oh yeah.
my 3-0 Red Ranger with Dragon Shield.
Ooh, nice.
And on the back of it strictly says, this is not a toy, only suitable for ages 15 and above.
What?
Yeah,
I probably
exactly.
wouldn't even give this to a 15-year-old, honestly.
Oh yeah, no.
So
there's-
the toy store I went to today in San Antonio actually had those stocked.
Really?
The 3 zeros,
Okay.
all of them, and that's pretty cool.
Well, you have
There
to
goes your-
understand,
there goes
Michael.
spending money.
Michael is a self-avowed connoisseur of adult toys, so.
Got me.
Some are latex and some are toys, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a funny story attached to that. So long story, like just to sum it up, when I moved into the apartment, I don't have a parcel box here. So I have to go down to the post office to pick my packages. Well, when I moved in last January, not this January, when I moved in
like
last
last week.
year, when I moved in, that was at the time all my pre-orders came due. So I was
Oh.
making like 3 or 4 trips to the post office at a time. And one of the last times I went there, one of the clerks, she was super nice, super sweet girl. And she says, "So what are you down here picking up? What are you buying that you're down here so much for?" And I looked at her deadpan straight face. I said, "Adult toys."
That could have went a whole different direction.
That's the point.
She never asked me again. I'll tell you that.
Well, they're discreet packaging for a reason.
When I
He bought the Zord helmet for role play.
Shh, tell Julie.
that's like when I
So who's the lucky Rita in your life?
Well, I know Julie will not listen to this podcast, so it's fine.
It's like when I went to go pick up my Ninja Turtle Power Rangers at the post office. They came in the actual Hasbro box, and it said Hasbro toys all over it. And I was like,
"Oh yeah."
I walked out of there, and I was like, man, I feel incredibly self-conscious that I'm 30 plus.
It's fine. It's
Don't worry.
fine, man.
It's when
It's
you're
fine.
walking around the toy section in like Walmart with a bunch of kids.
Oh
and
my
like,
god, that's the worst part. Yeah,
And then they're reaching for the Power Ranger toys, and
And
I
I-
just hit them in the
I
head with
just lay
the sauce about your elbow. You're
dude,
like,
I lay
stay down.
a sweet suplex on them. Just get out of there.
It's like
Like their
it's
their
like-
elbow height. Mhm.
it's like when you wait for their parents to leave, and you snatch it out of their hands. Like, no, I was looking for that.
What
I
you
have
do
adult money, and you don't.
Yeah.
is get
That's
real
true.
close to them and just rip one.